Dan Sodergren is a tech expert who advocates for Afro hair emojis. Good morning to you, Dan.
Good morning.
I mean, this surprised me. Why has this not happened before?
Well, that's a really great question, a fantastic question. Yeah, out of the 4,000 emojis that are there, we've had an emoji for ninjas by 2020. You could just imagine are there more ninjas than there are black women in the world? I don't. Okay, so
in use. None have Afro or mixed race hairstyles. We're looking to fix that as a youth group in East London who've been designing emojis that reflect a variety of black hairstyles on which they hope will be added to the selection currently available. Dan Sodergren is a tech expert who advocates for Afro hair emojis. Good morning to you, Dan.
Good morning.
I mean, this surprised me. Why has this not happened before?
Well, that's a really great question, a fantastic question. Yeah, out of the 4,000 emojis that are there, we've had an emoji for ninjas by 2020. You could just imagine are there more ninjas than there are black women in the world? I don't. Okay, so I don't know, we're kind of joking there, but it's a sad reflection, really, and it really goes a little bit deeper than this. If you're looking at technology and what they call VC funding, venture capital funding, which helps technology companies exist, it's something ridiculous like 0.28% of that funding. 0.28% of the funding goes to black entrepreneurs, black female entrepreneurs. Yeah, so it's a massive thing about being underrepresented, not just in funding, but also, sadly, even the very people that use these phones are not represented at all. So you might not think it's a big issue compared to the funding. In the UK, by the way, we're even worse. I think it's 0.24%, which is like less than a quarter of a percent goes to black women entrepreneurs. So, it's a big thing. You're 90 times more likely to get VC funding if you're white and male and have a connection with Oxford and Cambridge. It's that bad. Now, same thing, of course, with the emojis. 4,000 emojis, not even one or two of them are a black hairstyles and the black experience. So, yeah, it's a big thing. You've got to remember, of course, about 92% of the world's population use emojis. Yeah, it's not just for young people. Everybody uses them. And actually, if you really think about it, that they are most probably the only global language that's understood by pretty much everyone. So you might not think it's a big thing. But actually, if you can't see it, you can't be it. And if you don't feel that you are part of a space on something like a mobile phone, which you use every day, that's actually pretty indicting, isn't it?
It is interesting. I've found myself looking at the different emojis available. And obviously, you kind of start with the default yellow-faced emoji, but you've got different skin colours, you've got kind of whites, different hair colour as well. So different shades of brown and black face colour, but not the hair. So why is the hair so important?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. So, I mean, I'm not going to stand here and mansplain why black hair is important to black women, because it's tremendously important. In fact, my daughter's getting her hair done this morning, and we've been waiting up for it for 2 months. We've been saving up for it. She spent 2 hours doing her hair before she gets her hair done. I'm an old man, so to be honest with you, it might not be. I suppose that's the point, isn't it? It's a big deal for other people, and therefore we should recognise that's the case, if that makes sense. It might not be a big deal to me, it might not be a big deal to you, but actually not being represented at all on a platform is a big deal for someone else. And this, of course, is not just for black women. It would be for anyone who's a minority. But the thing I suppose I'm trying to get to is the modern equivalent of not having a word in the dictionary for, let's say, dreadlocks. And they just refuse to have the word in because, of course, black people and dreadlocks don't really exist. It's not really a word. You'd see that as quite racist, wouldn't you? And I think this is the point here, is it's most probably not intended as racism, but the outcome does feel a little bit weird because the people who are making the decision are predominantly white. In fact, if not completely, I would guess 99% of them are going to be white, because it's done by a company over in America, a thing called the Unicorn Consortium, this kind of shadowy cabal that, bizarre enough, runs all of the global experience with emoticons. How weird is that one company or one non-for-profit can do so? They are sponsored or kind of on the board of about 9 different tech companies. You'll know the names. It's Google and Apple and all these other people. But just between me and you, it took them until 2021 for a woman to be a boss of that committee. So I don't think they're the most progressive. I'm not saying they're not, but it does feel a bit odd. There's an emoticon for an old tree in the winter, but there is an emoticon for a black woman's hairstyle.
So what has to happen, Dan, to make this happen?
Oh, so it's quite a long process. That's the odd thing about it. So because it's hard-coded in and it's a little bit of clever technology. So to answer your first question, I suppose, the reason why it hadn't happened in the past is because it most probably wasn't possible to do so. We're talking 10 or 20 years ago, right? This is why we all had yellow faces to start off with, and there's some coding behind it and etc. Now there's no excuse. There was a petition to try to get the very same thing happening. I think it was 5 years ago. And it takes about 2 years for the whole process to happen. This petition happened. They still rejected the claim based on some spurious logic that they had that lots of people wouldn't use it. Considering that 7% of the American population are black women, it seems a bit odd, but there we go. Point being is it takes a bit of time. It is quite a rigorous process you go through. It is hard coded in, and once it's there forever. And I suppose that's the point. Once it's there forever, and that's why we really should be kind of really asking these tech companies. I mean, I'm surprised they're not doing it anyway, because to kind of spurn 7% of your potential market seems an odd move. But yeah, it's not an easy process, and it's a bit of a long process. I'm hoping in 2 years' time we're not having the same conversation that they haven't said yes to this, as it seems almost a basic human right to be represented on your phone.
It absolutely does. Yeah, it definitely feels like a bit of a no-brainer. Look, Dan, great to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. Dan Sodergren, who's a tech expert